I had another old man pop moment.
Okay.
I was texting my girlfriend, and I had said how I was like, what's weird is there's a lot of like kids here. And then I saw the movie in 4DX last night. I saw Alien, and I was like, there's a lot.
Same.
Right? Okay, we'll talk. Wait, we have a whole show. We'll have a whole show to talk about it. I was watching, and I was like, there's a lot of like kids here. She's like, that's a weird movie to bring kids to. And I was like, I know. I was like, well, they're like 19. And she's like, oh.
No.
I'm in my pop era. I'm in my pop era.
Paul, I had the ultimate pop era. I'm like shaking right now thinking about my pop era. I could top your pop era. Are we going to talk? So we're here.
Be old and grumpy.
Do we want to incorporate it into our discussion of the films?
Yes.
Or do we just want to bring it up?
Let's say hello and good morning. Hello and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. It's noon for you, Alex.
It's noon for me.
Good afternoon. You've been up, and Adam, are you? We don't ever really talk about this, but because we do everything at night. But are you a morning person at all?
I work at 6 a.m. at my job, and I am a 5 a.m. alarm goes off. I'm miserable, but I'm like, I immediately get up and just start doing everything. There are many times that I get up and old man stuff, I fall down because I get up so fast. My alarm goes off. I hit the stop button. I shut my thing off. I whip my CPAP machine thing off. My mask.
your face hugger.
And my face hugger, and I just stand up. And then sometimes I fall right back down, and then I get up again. I'm like I gotta go type of person. So I woke up at like. Sometimes I wake up at like noon, but I woke up at like 8 today, and I went for a walk. So
good. I'm glad you got outside and you went for a walk. We're wearing creepy crawly shirts today. Okay, nice. Mm-hmm. Creepy shirts, love it. Mm-hmm. Well, hello everyone. Good morning, Steve. Hello, howdy, my friend. Good to see you here. Thank you for joining us. This was kind of a show we kind of put together last minute. It's something we wanted to do more often whenever we can, to go ahead and do some more movie reviews, talk about things in pop culture aside from the news a little bit more in depth. These are just specifically for movies. So today we are going to be talking Alien Romulus as well as Borderlands. Alien, we're going to talk about first. I mean, Alex just saw it apparently both in 4DX. And Alien is going to be spoiler free. So if you haven't seen it, don't worry. We're just going to give our thoughts on it completely spoiler free. But Borderlands, we are definitely going to spoil because I feel like it's only fair.
Yeah.
So with all that, everyone like, comment, subscribe, say hello. There's a few of you in here now. I'm curious who is here in the morning. So say hi, say good morning. Have you seen Alien? Have you seen Borderlands yet? Let us know. But with that, Alex, let's get into Alien Romulus. I think this is obviously a movie that is highly touted right now. It's all over. You can't miss it. Have you seen some of the face hugger activation events that they're doing like in public?
Did you see that movie theater in France with the giant thing that was the size of like a building?
Dude, at the premiere of this, it was on that Fede Alvarez, who's the director of Alien Romulus, as well as films like Don't Breathe and Evil Dead. They had the one where they built it into that dude's chest.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was awesome.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I think this has been one of the more fun marketing stunts. Again, I'm a big marketing person. I do this every day for work, and it's fun to see like what every day, Alex, I see the shit that Alien is doing or 20th Century is doing, and I'm like, so you can get away with that. Note taken.
And that's the thing is like, this is the first Disney owned Alien film.
Yeah.
Right. This is the first film since Disney bought Fox, which again, the first trailer for Alien Romulus, I was not excited for this film at all.
Right. We discussed this.
I was not excited for it at all. It's like, it's just going to be just another like carbon copy remake. Then the second one, the second Red Band trailer. By the way, I got to bring up this poster. This poster,
yes, can we please? Like,
speaks volumes about what this movie does to you psychologically.
Yeah, I think the iconography of the face hugger is hey Pete, hey Desmond, good morning guys, is so prevalent in this particular film. Like it almost feels like Fede Alvarez really wanted to explore more of like the face hugger. There's plenty of xenomorph in it, but again, he definitely wanted to explore it a bit. So before we get into a little bit more of the movie, Alex, what was your experience like watching this? I think you said you watched it in 4DX the Regal as well, right?
Yeah, and I went to a 12:40 p.m. showing, so I'm like, it's going to be empty. So it was full. It was insane, and let me tell you, okay, I'm not going to say anything spoilery here, but like, that there's aliens in this, and there's xenomorphs, and there's this, and that. Like getting sprayed with the water at those moments. Oh yeah. My God. The whenever bullets were going off and in your ear, like, but then when you're in a ship and the ship is moving and you're like, what? I'm like, this is awesome.
It is definitely one of the better applications of the 4DX experience through Regal that I've had. I've seen.
I want to see Twisters.
I didn't see Twisters in 4DX, but I heard it was like almost.
I heard they're bringing it back because it was so like crazy.
I know. I do want to see it. I know it did break some of the 4DX seats because the technology, like it just went too ham. But I watched, Deadpool. We're not going to talk Deadpool Wolverine. We actually haven't covered Deadpool Wolverine very much on the show, but I think we can go into like spoiler territory. 3, 2, 1. You've all seen it when Hugh has his shirt off and that whole thing is happening, right? And it's blowing up and they're saving everything at the very end. My seat in 4DX did not stop moving for the entirety of that scene. And it definitely enhanced it. So there's a lot of moments in Alien Romulus. And if you see it in 4DX, it definitely I feel like Fede Alvarez or someone very, very close to him had to have had some sort of say into like the right beats to activate the right experience with this. Because there was one moment in it that I mean, for everyone, me and Alex in theaters watch about 2 movies a week. On average, would you say, Alex? Sometimes more.
Yeah.
Right, if you can. And throughout the week, then I'm always watching something else. So maybe 8 or 9 movies a week just on my side. And we've seen how many movies in theaters. It's been a while since I've like smiled from an experience. Last night, there's a scene where this is, again, still spoiler free, where they're replicating the vacuum of space. It's very early on in the film. And there's wind blowing, and it blew wind from on top of you, at you, and behind you. And it's so all encompassing that I was like smiling the entire time. You know what moment I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was such a, again, it was an experience. I don't remember I saw one other movie in 4DX. I don't remember what it was because with this one, it was a perfect experience because of you're in space, you get space experience. You're in a spaceship, you get spaceship. You got, guns going off. You got, wet stuff. And by the way, here's the thing. It's not a spoiler, but I got to say, I cannot wait till this comes out on streaming and physical media, whatever, because I'm going to need subtitles for 2 of the characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Other than there's something in the water, I could not understand a single thing these 2 actors said.
It's something in the water.
That's all I understood.
Got it, and then when
but the rest of his dialogue
says boyo, it's in the trailer.
Yeah, the rest of his dialogue, it was like watching a Snatch with like, like, what? I have no idea what you're saying, man. I need to.
This is the guy from Banshees of Inisherin. Like, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I have no idea. But as far as my experience, I had grumpy grandpa experience the entire time because next to me were 2 young girls. I don't know. I'm 45, so they could be.
They're 36.
Yeah, they're 36, and I'm like, they're children, right? So like they're so young looking, but like, I'm. And I'm like, and I would stare at them. But then the girl takes out her phone and she's taking pictures with the flash and the sound. And I was my friend was with me. It's like, don't. I was like, yo, listen. I'm like, what are you taking pictures of? There's nothing exciting going on here. Can you wait 2 hours? And she stopped. And I'm like, I'm not like this, but this was ridiculous. Then she has a phone call. And I'm like, yo, listen. I'm like, it's whatever it is. It's not that important. It's not that exciting. Whatever it is, if you want.
You said something.
I said things to these people.
Oh, that's an old man moment.
Right next to, right here. I'm like, yo, it's whatever you're talking about. It's not that exciting. Can you stop just for 1 hour? Give me 1 hour. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I was going to start taking pictures of her with the flash, and I was going to really start. I went full grumpy grandpa. I was like, "Yo, you serious right now? Why go to a movie and then you take the pictures and have the phone calls?" I went nuts. That's another level.
I know we have to get to the movie review, but now I'm curious.
Like, it's like $50 you paid for tickets.
Yeah, what would you guys do in that scenario? Because I'm thinking, I think in the right context, in the right moment, I can be pretty passive aggressive, or I can be pretty stern. But for the movies, I'm so would you guys mind? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'll just deal with it. I don't think I'd say anything,
dude.
I don't think I would.
These. I'm telling you, I feel like they were like 16-year-old girls. They could have been 19, 20. I don't know, but they just look like so super young. And I'm like, yo, seriously, I'm not. I mean, Steve Nara said, I'm glad it didn't turn violent.
Yeah.
2 16-year-old girls could definitely take me. At least they could make me. At least they could just say, like, you fat old piece of crap, and just make me feel bad about myself and go home crying. But
my favorite insult is telling people when they come up to me to say something. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't have change.
Yeah.
And then they usually, because I think they're homeless. But if in LA, that could be a multimillionaire. So let's see.
Back to the movie.
Before that, Desmond said, I don't think that is grumpy grandpa, Alex. That being said, please don't get shot over a screening of a movie. Yes, more so to the girls, show some respect. And then, to wrap up the point of the experiences before we get into the review of the movie. So if you have fast forwarded through this part, just give us 20 more seconds. I also saw it in 4DX, loved it, as I mentioned. I had a lot of kids there as well who were probably 18, 19. And on both sides of me were, pretty nice. And the kids on my left were super high. Oh, yeah. I will say I had the opposite experience where there was one person talking down front. They're like, hey, we're trying to watch a movie. Would you mind? And they were young. They were 17, and it was quiet, and everyone was rocking and having a good time. And I was like, okay, because
it's a real Delgado move, right?
I mean, you know this, but for you guys to know, I normally watch movies with as little people in the theater as humanly possible. It's hard for me to focus, and unless it's a super, super huge movie, I don't like watching with a lot of people, and that restored a little faith in humanity. And Mr. Kennedy came in at just the right moment. All right, Alex, let's get into our spoiler-free thoughts of Alien Romulus. So a little bit of background on this film. If you somehow have been living in cryo sleep and you don't know about this movie, it's the continuation. Apparently it takes place very much so right after Alien 1 and in between 2, correct? So
basically timeline, there's Ridley Scott's Alien 1979, and then there's timeline, there's Aliens, right? James Cameron. In the middle is where this movie takes place. It's not long after the first one.
Correct. So it is directed by Fede Alvarez, again, as we mentioned, who has done films as Don't Breathe, Evil Dead. Dude, he has an awesome show on Apple called Calls. Super underrated. It's called Calls. And it basically it's got Aubrey Plaza, and it takes place through the perspective of a bunch of people talking on the phone to each other. Really cool. Really cool.
I'll put on my list.
Yeah, so Fede Alvarez, written by his partner Rodo Sayagas. It's hard. It's a hard Portuguese name for me. But again, very, very good. And it's got Kaylee Spaney, who has been recently in Civil War. She was Priscilla. And what was the other big thing she was just in?
I will find out in 6 seconds because I have IMDb at my fingertips. Priscilla, first lady, mayor of Easttown. Nothing really big.
Mayor of Easttown was what I was thinking of, but
Yeah,
yeah,
she was great in that. Actually, that was a great show.
So again, starring Kaylee Spaney, David Johnson, and Archie Renew. Again, it follows Kaylee Spaney as Rain as she is scavenging the deep ends of a derelict space station, where her and another group of young space colonists come face to face with the perfect life organism, and that's all we'll give away on that. So, Alex, initial thoughts. We could talk about like the marketing efforts and everything in a bit, and that's a whole other show. But from just like from a film standpoint, one, I want to know very briefly, what is your relationship with like the Alien franchise, and then how did you feel about this fitting in to the franchise? And same question to everyone else out there if you've seen it, even if you haven't seen Romulus, what's your relationship to the franchise?
So Alien 1979 is one of my favorite movies of all time, right? I'm obsessed. In my bedroom, I've got mad posters. I've got figures. I bought the PF flyers at one point because they were like Ellen Ripley's shoes. I was like, I was obsessed. So Alien is one of my favorite movies of all time, favorite horror movies. So I have a very deep love for it. Aliens, I don't love it. I don't like Alien 3. I don't like Alien Resurrection. I don't like it. I never even got through Alien versus Predators.
Aliens, and then Resurrection is the third? Or is it just Alien
3? It's just called Alien 3.
Okay. Resurrection is like the 2008 one or something?
I don't remember what it was when it came out.
I think I've seen that one.
That's the one where no, I don't think it was in the 2000s. It was earlier than that. Ron Perlman was in it. And there's actually a really funny thing where Sigourney Weaver does this thing where she throws a basketball behind her head and swish, and like didn't even plan it. Like it wasn't even like 40 takes. She just did it in like one shot. Everyone was like, "Oh!"
It reminds me. We won't get into it, but like of The Office, when Michael Scott's trying to make it, and he's like, "See you on the flip," and he does it like 10. He does it like 40 times.
Yeah, she got it like the first shot. But
okay,
so I really love the first one.
You're a fan of the franchise. Clearly,
I'm a fan of the franchise, but specifically the first one, which is why I become very, and I like Prometheus on its own. I did not really love Alien Covenant, but I'm very picky when it comes to Alien because like I see the movies and I'm like, well, once again, I'm disappointed. So this one I was very worried about. So I have a very deep relationship to it. That being said, I was glad I went to see this movie.
Good, yeah. I will say, surprise to you all. I didn't watch all of the Alien films, but I have seen Alien a few times, and it's fantastic. Like, it's incredible what Ridley Scott was able to do. Again, I went on like a little binge not too long ago, and I watched like everything that he did, and I watched Alien, I watched like Blade Runner, and then I watched The Abyss?
Oh yeah,
that's I watched The Abyss. And then, Cameron, damn it. I always, in my head, sometimes them too. Their older movies are the same to me sometimes. But then I watched Alien again because I just loved Alien so much. Kind of lightning in a bottle. And, it is a film that I've always loved as well. And then they drop off for me. And then I didn't watch Alien 2 and 3 until maybe 3 years ago. But love Prometheus.
Yeah.
Love Prometheus. That was like a really, really good film. That was a really big film for me. I remember watching that in theaters. Covenant, I don't remember. And then, growing up, who brought Steve Nara's comment about the AVP films? He says he forgot about those, and I don't count those. Like, that's what me and Daniel, who's also on the main show on Mondays at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern, me and him were like watch them all the time. He's a bigger fan than I am because I'm not a big sci-fi fan in general, but I felt with this film because I like Fede Alvarez more than I like the Alien franchise. I was kind of coming into it with like a different, expectation, and I loved it. I loved that it was. I think someone set it up earlier. Oh, Steve Nara said, "Can you bring his comment up underneath Anthony Kennedy's sup, everyone?"
Yeah. Let me
Steve Nara said, "Yep." I have not seen Romulus, but I read an interesting article saying it's a stealth remake of Don't Breathe by the same director. Have you two seen that one? I've seen it. Have you seen Don't Breathe?
I've seen Don't Breathe.
Yeah. So there's a lot of comparisons. Obviously, it's the same director. And yeah, there is a lot of Don't Breathe in this film for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is another way of him sort of making these types of films that he likes. Like, he's not really interested in Alien Romulus, I'd say, in the big sci-fi ideas.
Right.
Like, there are moments in this film that you get the Weyland Yutani of it all, like of the mega corporation. It's in there, but it is very quickly left aside for the body horror, the Don't Breathe of it all, the things that Fede Alvarez is best at.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I go to my movie theater and like everyone there knows me because I'm a big loser, and you know there are these people there and they're young, right? They're all young, and like I'm there
35.
35. No, and then I'm going there to get my my bucket, right? And we all know the sex bucket, right? And they're like, man, that really does look like. I'm like, yeah, because part of the movie, the original, and you know, you look at H.R. Giger and like his work, it is very sexual, and it is a lot of sexual horror. It's like it makes the whole idea of sex gross. And saying to a bunch of like, to me, little kids, like, right, you know, the 20s and 30s, but they're like, yeah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you watch the movie, it is a final girl horror movie. It is a exploration of corporate America and corporate interests versus real people's lives. And it has all these themes, but part of it is also, it's a demented sex film. Like there's also a demented sex aspect of it. And which is what I think in this movie, they do so much of a better job to make me like I'm fully celibate after watching this movie, because the entire concept of sexuality is like makes me. This movie disgusts me by it. There are things that they added to this movie, that Fede Alvarez added to this movie, as far as like the body horror thing, that like I think H.R. Giger, if he was alive, he would be like, oh my god.
Tip of the cap to you.
Tip of the cap to
pervert.
you. You are a fellow pervert. You know.
Yeah, I think, and again, as you know, as fellow perverts, I definitely like you notice it for sure in this movie. And it's something that is prevalent in Fede Alvarez's the director, his other work as well, like in Don't Breathe. And again, we're not going to spoil a bunch of those movies, and we're going to move on from Alien pretty quick because we're going to like, I think a lot of the stuff that I want to talk about is very spoilery. So maybe we can talk about this next Saturday if we have time. But
there's just a few things I want to touch on. Right?
Yeah.
Actors, story, effects, all that, you know, and you know,
So yeah, let's move very, very quickly through these, Alex. How did you feel the acting was?
Acting was so good, minus the inability to understand some stuff.
Have you seen that video of people saying like, go into your local theater and slipping them a 20 and be like, hey, put those subtitles on, big boy. That's what I want to do.
That's what with this legitimately film. I was like, excuse me, what?
So aside from that, acting, I felt
especially David Johnson's Andy. Yeah,
dude. Like,
really,
who is this? Like, I don't know him from much.
I don't know him at all. Yeah. What
I thought he was. Let's see. Let me see. I'm looking it up now. So he's been. He's in what everyone's watching right now. He's in Industry.
I don't know what that is. Never heard of it.
And so I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see more of what Andy Johnson is. Not Andy Johnson.
David Johnson.
David Johnson is doing. And is his name. I thought Kaylee Spaney did a very good job. She's very serviceable as that action final girl. I felt they did a really good job of not making her Ripley, but also being like, I don't want to shy away if that's where your brain wants to take it. Like, that's fine, because I don't take it that way. But for someone like you, where the franchise is more impactful,
right? And
you can't disassociate the two. And there's something I want to touch on a little later. So let's, getting through that. I think that a few of the actors were just there. They're just people. They're just like, we need,
people in this thing, so they're not these fantastic standouts. But I thought everyone did a pretty good job, but especially Andy, especially David Johnson as Andy.
And again, tons of elements. The direction, the production is good, but I do want to talk about the set and the costume designing, because I am. Who was it? Was it JJ Joe that just posted something in our Facebook group for everyone? If you are not in our Facebook group, it's Fandom Socialites. So hello, welcome, join us there. But I made a bad call and I said there will never be another $1 billion Marvel franchise until Secret Wars, and I was wrong pretty quickly. So JJ Joe, if you're watching this one, and you guys let him know, mark my words, this movie will win an Oscar for costume and set design.
You think so? It'll definitely get nominated. 100% get nominated.
I'm calling my shot right now that it's going to win an Oscar for either set design or costume design. One of them.
Because set design and practical effects, oh my God. And I watched that behind the scenes. I sent you that behind the scenes video where they were showing it. Remote control face huggers, remote control mouth. People in costumes, not digital. Like that's the thing with like Alien Covenant. It was just so digital. I just didn't like it. But yet people in costumes freaking people out. It was freaking fantastic. And the sets, they're all just built sets. We're used to just 80% CGI sets now. This was built sets.
There was a pretty good article. I first saw it through the Hollywood Reporter that Fede Alvarez came out and said that, they built about 95% of everything that you see.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, a lot of people say that. But once you see the film, especially early on and inside the hubs of the ships, you're like, oh, all that's there.
Yeah.
You can just,
it's very possible.
Yeah.
It's very possible that like it's modular and they can move it around to repurpose it to build other sets. Like it's very possible that like they didn't have to build 100% of all the sets because, like Star Trek, like, you watch old Star Trek things and like this one room is like the dining room, this room, that, because they just like, they put different furniture.
It's called an open concept production.
So it's very possible that a lot of it's real, but it was visibly, and the parts that were CGI, like it made it like, oh, now I notice it because everything else is so real. You know what I mean? Like everything else is so tangible, but it's still,
beautiful. It's so good. And I think maybe me and Alex, this is just this Saturday show is reserved specifically for us. I know. I saw your comment and I was like, oh, it made me mad because I was like, it is. But I'm calling my shot now. I'm really hoping Romulus wins. Is reserved for, us just geeking out about movies. And I think we'll probably do a show on the unsung heroes of like costume and set design, because if you look at like movies like Barbie even recently, right, of like that is another character is the entire set. So with Alien Romulus, set design is incredible. I want to get into, and I'll start here, and then because I don't want what you say, which is going to be much smarter, to influence what I'm thinking, because it's like in front of my mind. I want to get into the last part we'll talk about this, which is the plot and the story driving this movie forward, which this is the only thing that keeps this from being like a perfect movie to me. Perfect, in air quotes. Like, I think the story of this film is the only thing that I left me a little bit wanting. It fell to me into the sci-fi trap of like, do we go more sci or do we go more fi? And some science fiction is too heady and too worried about high concept stuff. And then some is like, oh, we're going to strip that away and we're going to just do a really, really quiet character film. And I felt this movie is a really quiet character film. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's not super interested in some of the really like big ideas, but the why driving every character forward, I felt was a little like mundane. but it's my only criticism of the movie because literally everything else I'm obsessed with. What did you think, Alex, of like the actual, again, without spoilers, the story of it all?
So the thing is with the story is it touches on, man, it's hard to say this without spoiling it, because if you watch all the Alien movies, there's one common thread through all of it is Weyland-Yutani, right? It's one common thread through all of it. And this, I feel like, took the bigger Weyland-Yutani, what they represent as far as the fiction part, like you're saying, more science than fiction. Like I saw the fiction part and I had all the frustration in me, all the whatever for the characters. So like the characters and what was driving them to me was like the smaller localized version of what like always the bigger overarch. Man, it's so hard. And I just sound so pretentious saying it because I just don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah. You have to be. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I have to sound pretentious, but like when you think of what Weyland-Yutani represents in all these movies, sometimes Weyland-Yutani's, sometimes the corporation is very forward, sometimes it's further back, but this made the more human for me. This was a more smaller human story in that bigger thing, in that bigger project of like the big overall corporate entity and whatever. So like without saying too much, like I feel like what was driving them was very today. I feel like someone who like, especially like millennials and Gen Zs and the Gen A's who like, you know, they have this hopelessness of the future. I thought that was, like they're like, I have no future. There's no future. I felt that was what this movie was like. Like I was able to see that because all the characters are young and they're going to this thing because they want to like, you know, they want to rob it so they can, you know, that, I mean, obviously that's all like laid out in the trailers and the description of the movie, so it's whatever.
Right.
Like you got these young kids who like they want a future, so they're going to rob this space station. And so like when you think about that and you think about all these consequences, anyways, it's so hard to say without spoiling the whole thing that happened.
I think I understand.
That's why I loved the story for me, because I was trying to bring it to present day.
It is reflective of today and today's and the people, right, or the youth. We'll call them. They're all probably about either like my age or maybe a little bit younger. Their like motivations, you know, towards success and, you know, just trying to move from scavenger to middle class, colonial, you know, person just trying to live on a different moon somewhere. Like
we always say, right? It's like, you know, we just want healthcare. I just want a house, maybe just
want healthcare.
I just want healthcare, maybe an apartment, you know, for not.
We have a new model of our Weyland-Yutani android. It's like I haven't been able to feel my feet in 2 years, so I would love to be able to do that. Oh, back to the mines, Alex.
Yeah.
So, also,
that's why I like the story in this, because I thought like it was very. Because whenever I look for in science fiction, and it's funny when people get like this science fiction is so woke and like why is it got to be political? I'm like, yo, literally all science fiction is trying to tell a story of what's happening. People would say this about Star Trek. They're trying to say, look at what's happening now. Let's tell you a story where we're being a little more metaphorical about it. And like people don't get it. I'm like, what is wrong with you? That's literally what all good science fiction is about.
And it's like I've always loved in science fiction, people are like, oh, of course they're going to be Hispanic or Black or Asian now. It's like, where do you think we're all going? We're not wanted on Earth. We're colonizing the rest of space.
Yeah, seriously. That, you know, and hey, not to be such like a Star Trek, pat myself in the back. I love Star Trek, but that was the point of Star Trek. The point of Star Trek was Gene Roddenberry showing that everyone was in the future. Every race, culture, those
woke whale agenda, Alex. That's all Star Trek is. It's a woke whale agenda.
It's ridiculous.
Well, again, sorry, I don't want to speak for Alex, but I think I can pick up what he's putting down here. You know, we normally like to say, you know, sit, skip, or stream here, but how we feel about movies. You know, sit being sit your ass down in the theater and go watch this. Stream meaning like it's good, but wait till it's on your local streaming platform, or skip entirely. Pretty safe to say we're both in the sit category of this film.
I'm a go now.
Get off the phone.
Yeah. Once this stream is over, because hopefully we're in the middle of showings, I'm serious. Like, go see this movie. Go see
Mhm.
this movie. Sit in that
Yeah.
theater. If you want a crazy experience, go to 40X.
40X, baby. 40X was
If
awesome.
you have any laser Dolby sounds for the sound, whatever you can, see this in the big. See, this is a movie that you go to the movies for. This is like what they're, and it's a great movie, but
Yeah.
this is also a movie that you're supposed to go to the movies for.
And I do want to just point this out. If you are not a horror fan, this movie is way scarier than
Oh
I
god,
anticipated. I was
it's so
expecting like
gross.
my brain, because it's just my version of this franchise, I was expecting Prometheus, because that's like my version of Alien and AVP, and it's kind of kitsch and fun. It is not. It is a horror film. So
It is
just know that
disgusting.
going in. Alien Romulus, Alex, thank you.
One
Again,
thing I'd like to say
go ahead.
before we move on too much
To Borderlands.
to Borderlands, um, member berries. There's my one complaint, because your one complaint was the thing. My one complaint is anytime, not anytime, but a few moments where they try to be like, hey, this is a franchise, so we're gonna call back and remind you that this is part of a large franchise, or whatever. And I'm sure this is like the Disney producers to be like, hey, make sure they remember it's an Alien movie, just in case they forget. Yeah, there was a couple of like lines in this movie where I was like, oh, I literally.
Yeah.
Everyone in the theater laughed at a couple of lines. Like everyone.
Luckily the good parts of this movie outweigh the eye rolling.
This much.
It's minuscule.
Literally
sure.
this much.
But it did annoy me because I hate that as well. So,
so much.
All right. Well, Alien Romulus, we both agree. Sit your ass down in a theater. Go watch this in 40X, Dolby, IMAX. Get your penis popcorn bucket wherever you can get them. Have some fun with the Wolverine mouth. Knock yourself out. Your weekend just got started. So, speaking about things that can be considered perverse and perverse, I should say. Let's get into our next review for Borderlands. Borderlands is a film that was just released, directed by Eli Roth, starring Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Edgar Ramirez, Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis, Florian Montieu. It is based, of course, on the wildly popular video game of the same name, which I've played very little of. Alex, I know you've played a bit of. I've played like 9 or 10 hours, but
I love Borderlands. By the way,
it's great.
I have all my little Borderlands collectibles. It's fun. It's ridiculous. And by the way, I just want to bring this up. This guy Digiming on Instagram did like a side by side, just to show you, like, hey, this is the character comparisons between the movie and the game. And I was like, oh, this is cute. This is really lovely. And that's
so. Where do we want to start with this movie? Let's start with a show of hands of people in the comments. Have you seen this? Because we are going to spoil Borderlands. I can't imagine there's a whole lot of you out there that are going to be upset by that, but we do want to let you know that within the next 30 seconds, we're going to start our spoiler review, full review of Borderlands. So you got 30 seconds. Most of you, I'm sure, don't care. So with that, Borderlands is out. Is a movie rife. I cannot get my words goodly today.
Strife is a good word too.
Yeah, it is a movie filled to the gross brim with controversy. It was filled with reshoots. It is a movie that is barely being marketed anymore. The actual video game company Gearbox is coming out to defend it. It is considered one of the biggest flops of the decade, as financially speaking. So when I went to go see it, it was almost like Madame Web, where I'm sure you guys have all remembered. You can watch me and Alex reviewed Madame Web. I think it was our very first movie review together. And I went in and I'm like, there's no way that it can be this bad. There's no way.
Right.
So I went in with that mentality and watched it with a buddy of mine who has never played the games, literally had no idea what the story was in general, which, my buddy and Eli Roth seem to have something in common there. So I'm curious, Alex, as a fan of the game, like what were your expectations and what was your experience going into this movie?
So I'll say this, right? My first thing when the reviews came out was like 0 and 8% and 3%. I was like, okay. I saw the Marvels, and that's got like a 60 something, and I wanted to die. I couldn't even watch Quantumania, and that's got more than a 3%. Venom, Let There Be Carnage has like a 57%. So I was automatically like, nothing is gonna be, and by the way, I love watching the Venom versus Carnage. That's a terrible thing of me. But I was like, it's not gonna be at that terrible. And I will say it was not a 3% terrible. It was not a 0% terrible. It's not even an 8% terrible, but it is terrible. The games I love. I love the games. They're stupid. And that's what I wanted out of them. I want a game that I could turn on. And yeah, sometimes you have little emotional stakes. Like you watch Deadpool and Wolverine, right? It's like 80% hilarious, but then there's like these really like emotional ones. I like that in a movie. This movie was just like, let's take this ridiculous, stupid shooter, toilet humor, sexual innuendo game and try to give it this like tragic backstory with like feelings and all this stuff.
PG-13?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? So my experience as a really big fan of the games was I was really just beyond disappointed. Disappointed.
And it's one of those movies where I think that's a good way of putting it, where you watch the movie and it ends and you're like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Yeah. And everyone knows that's worse because it's an IP that lends itself to kind of a sandbox. Like there's no reason that they had to even follow the main plot of this story, which it's very flimsy. And I know it's from the game, but it's still stupid. And I'm sorry. It's so dumb. It felt like this movie to me, if I could really compare it to anything, it felt like being at the fair where you go in and you're like, the fair is supposed to be fun because that's what everyone tells me. And then you get in the fair and you're like, it's already like 85 degrees. Yeah. Oh my God, like 91. And then temperature, it starts getting hotter. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to go on this ride. Like, well, it's 20 tickets, but not those tickets. It's different tickets. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I'll get food. And there's a huge line for food. And then every little thing at this thing that is supposed to be fun just ends up annoying me and I want to go home. And that's how I felt the entire movie, especially with like an incredible cast of characters, which I think one of the most egregious things that this movie has going for it is the misuse of this cast here. Ariana Greenblatt, who is a pretty phenomenal actress, a pretty phenomenal actor in her own right. Of course, Cate Blanchett, you've got Jack Black as Claptrap. But once I got to the point where he's like peeing or he's got, bullets coming out of him and he's like, oh, no one look. I'm not sure if that's from the game or whatever, but by that point, I was so annoyed with the movie that like my friend who was next to me thought like I was sleeping. He's like, you didn't make a noise? You didn't laugh once?
He has a mirror up to your nose. See if you're
yeah, like the mob. I didn't. And it was like, I think I'm way less. I think I enjoyed this movie less than you did, Alex. Like I was, because like I'll go watch if you put that revolving gun that Cate Blanchett has to my head, I'll go watch Quantumania or Captain Marvel 3 times back to back before I watch this movie again. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So I mean, here's where I'm going to lay it out, right? So you have this game that's full of absurdity, and this is what kills me, right? You have, and I'm going to make some movie comparisons here. Hellboy in 2019 was marketed that it was going to be so horror, it's going to be all this horror, and then it comes out and it's like they were trying to be Deadpool, right? They were trying to be Deadpool, and it failed because Hellboy is somber and horror filled, and yeah, there's moments of funny, but it's not this slap riot action movie. He's not an action star. It's a horror thing. So they completely misunderstood the character. It's like Deadpool exists where it's like absolutely absurd with a touch of heart, And then they're like, oh, let's go the opposite direction. Let's take this movie based on a game that is 100% absurdity. It is the claptrap crapping bullets out of it. Yeah, that's fine. That's perfectly within character. I will say this. I'm not a huge Jack Black fan. And claptrap annoys the crap out of me in the games. But he was the perfect part of this movie. Him in this movie was perfect. Like, and with Cate Blanchett, when I watch Masters of the Universe from 1986 or whatever, it's like, it's terrible, but then watching Frank Langella give this amazing performance makes the rest of the movie worth it. And like, it makes his performance not only worth watching the movie, but it makes him shine brighter. Cate Blanchett actively made this movie worse.
Yeah.
By being too like, and her accent was terrible. Where are you from? You just have you live in space. You can have a British accent. It's allowed. You could just keep your accent on instead of, but it was just too many emotional moments. Tiny Tina, who was supposed to be like really just ridiculous, made her so serious and like, oh, my heart, my feelings. Like, no, man, you're doing it bad. And you're doing it bad. One thing, though, we could talk about the good things, or we want to keep trashing it.
Let's give it the same treatment that we gave Alien Romulus. So let's talk, the acting. First, I felt that pretty much everyone was miscast in this. And I have a theory that when they signed on for this movie in like 2014, by the way, 10 years that this movie has been in active development. Apparently Eli Roth had a script ready by 2018 and it was ready to go by 2019. And then it went through rewrites and then the pandemic hit and then it came out. So that's just sort of a brief timeline of how the movie got to be what it is. But everyone I feel was miscast. If to your point, I guess Jack Black truly is probably the best cast person as that voice, because I did go through and watch, I've played a little bit of Borderlands, but when it came out, I went and watched like a bunch of claptrap videos and he's just as annoying. But it's part of his character, right? Is to be that annoying robot. And I was like, yeah, Jack Black did that pretty well, but literally everyone but Jack Black is a miscast. I don't know what they were doing in there. Kevin Hart also actively made this movie worse for me.
Because he's a comedian.
Not an action star. And that is an action. I would have had The Rock. Of all of the things that the dumb movies that The Rock takes on, he doesn't take on Borderlands, where he's built like that dude. It made no sense to me.
But even if listen, here's the thing with Kevin Hart, is that they hired Kevin Hart, who's a comedian,
right?
Who's ridiculous and absurd, put him in a movie that is supposed to be ridiculous and absurd, and they gave him no comedy. They gave him zero comedy. They also had, what's his name? That character, his friend, his best friend, his roommate. Who plays him? Oh God, I can't remember his name. He does Bobby the Lee? Podcast.
Bobby Lee.
Yeah. Bobby Lee's in this movie. They didn't make him funny. How do you put comedians in a movie that's supposed to be funny and not make them funny?
Yeah, so in Borderlands, they have the one moment together where they're sort of like doing the are you on my side? Are you not on my side?
Right.
The classic detective tango. And I was like, why is that whole scene not improv? Why is Eli Roth or whoever's producing it or the script supervisor, why are you letting them touch this scene when you have two, arguably, whether you like them or not, they are very famous and very notable comedians,
and good at improv.
I don't know why they wouldn't just let Kevin Hart roll on this, if that's the angle, because he is not an action star. I don't buy him as that. It's hard for me to picture Cate Blanchett as that action star. She was fine, I guess, in everything she did, but it was definitely a paycheck. And seeing Ariana Greenblatt do all the press tour for this, and now she's a 20-year-old girl. I don't know how old she is, but she's 20 or 19. But when she filmed this movie, she's 12 or 13, and you can very clearly tell, and that's just really jarring for me. I Yeah, again, most of the acting was pretty bad. I don't know what the hell Jamie Lee Curtis was doing in this movie. Like, I don't know what skeleton she has in her closet that she agreed to this film.
You know, Penn Jillette was supposed to be in this movie because he does have a cameo in the games. He is a character in the games. Penn and Teller are
as
in the
as
games.
Penn and Teller.
No, as like some like punk psycho version of Penn and Teller. You know, like crazy, whatever. But it's them, and like he was supposed to be in this movie, but I guess you know they couldn't fit it with all the high drama. They couldn't have Penn Jillette in there, you know, because he's a serious dramatic actor. They didn't want to steal Cate Blanchett's amazing scenes.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of anyone else. Florian Mathieu, who plays Krieg, is forgettable. He's in a mask the whole time. Edgar Ramirez, who plays Atlas, who's essentially the main bad guy, just like your generic sci-fi original film villain, who he's a pretty good actor, but he is just constantly cast in these like, they're like, ooh, we need someone who can deliver exposition, make it sound kind of evil. But the board's saying they need to be a person of color. Like, they always put my boy Edgar Ramirez in those roles, and like,
he's so much better than that. He's so much better than that.
He is,
and it kills me when you see stuff that he does that he's killer in, and then you see them do this to him. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, like if you want to see Edgar Ramirez in something really good, he's really good in Dr. Death and I'm looking up the other movie now. Well, Dr. Death and what the hell's the other one?
I like this. I think it's unfair to say the acting is bad. It's more like anti-good. That's pretty funny. Oh, wait. Part of the deal she signed to win that Oscar she didn't deserve. Ouch.
Hard agree with that as well. Man, we could do a whole other show about that.
But yeah, yes.
So the acting, not great.
Story.
The plot, yeah, okay. So the plot again. Let me see if I can summarize this, Alex, and please interrupt me if I get this wrong. There is a planet called Pandora, where that's basically the majority of the Borderlands game takes place. It's lawless. It's like the outback. It's basically Australia in space, and it is essentially a place where Cate Blanchett gets hired by Edgar Ramirez, Atlas, to go find his daughter, who is the key to open up this vault that was left by an ancient race of aliens who basically helped create a majority of life, and then the humans have ripped their technology, and our advancements are basically all because of that ripped technology. And come to find out, a bunch of dumb stuff happens, that Cate Blanchett is actually a daughter of, what are they called? Attilians? Iridia. She's the actual daughter of Iridia. She gets some terrible CGI wings, fights Atlas. And the whole time, you know, you think it's Ariana Greenblatt's character who is the key to everything, who's playing Tiny Tina.
By the way, if you were watching this movie and you couldn't tell within the first 15 minutes how the whole movie was going to end, yeah, you need help.
Did you see Jin's comment? It's funny.
Oh yeah,
she said my neighbor
is practicing the trumpet very, very badly, and it kind of works with this review. Honestly, record it. And then listen to it while you're watching the movie.
Absolutely. So we get a big penultimate battle between Cate Blanchett as the champion, like this Phoenix character for the Iridians, Firehawk, and also that she can bestow shields on people, and that's about the entirety of the movie. Like, I mean, did I miss anything key there? Like,
let's see. No. It's really just like, oh, look at this really obvious bait and switch. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, look at this thing. And let's make it really terrible. And let's add this emotional element to Cate Blanchett's backstory, you know, like to Lilith's backstory, my mom and my thing and the sirens. And it is brutal. The climax of them going into like the vault, like there's nothing happens. They go into this thing. There's like literally nothing there but a bunch of floating space rocks. Nothing in there. What are they going in there for?
Well, to him, it's important. To Atlas, Edgar Ramirez, because he touches it. He's like, "Can you feel this power?" And I'm like, "Tell me, what is it? Like, what? Tell me one
What
thing about what's in this vault. One."
to trigger my PTSD again? It's like the magic space thing doodads in Transformers movies.
Hmm.
What is it? Why does it exist? What is it? What do you do with it? I don't understand.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. But yeah. No,
yeah.
Desmond says he feels like the film might have had a better chance if it wasn't for Fallout. This film had no chance.
This version of the film was always bad. It definitely, again, I mentioned it earlier, but it felt like a sci-fi original film. No, that was made on a like $10 million budget.
It's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But anyways, well, what other factors do we have?
Well, the last part would be the only positive that
Oh
I
my
can
God.
find about this movie, which is the costume design
And set design. Well,
yeah, and the set
not
design.
really set design because it's all
This
CGI.
movie
Yeah.
has a lot of CGI and a lot of impractical. I'm going to call it, for this movie, I'm going to call them impractical effects. And it's just a ton of stuff that like is very, very noticeably it's not even color corrected. It doesn't even look continuous by what else is happening. And it is not a good, the set design parts of it are pretty cool. Like they're built from the game, but there's no cell shading, which is a huge part of this game, which was a huge miss for this. Like very rarely do you get to go into films and especially adaptations and have an art style given to you on a plate.
Right.
And they completely disregarded
I've seen amazing cosplayers do it. They could have done it in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
The costume design, fantastic.
Costume design. First thing I got to do, because someone said, like, I was like, I want to talk about the good stuff because this casting is Marcus.
Pretty great.
The outfit, the clothing, everything. His voice, he did the Marcus voice. Hey, it was perfect. Severely underused. He should have been doing the exposition, not Kate Blanchett's awful character. She was terrible. Moxie, the super old but still sexy, proprietor of Mad Moxies. They did a really great job with her as far as costuming and the looks and everything like that. And even though it's CGI, the vehicles and the creatures. Let me tell you, there's so many creatures in the game, so many creatures, but there was like 3 creatures in the whole thing. But they nailed.
There's the big piss monster, right? That one was cool. Like I thought some of the set pieces were fine, like super CGI'd, but like, what do you expect from a video game adaptation? But again, the practical effects of a lot of sorry, I had coffee. Oh my goodness. The costumes, like I thought, it's the only thing that it pulled me through that movie. I was like, everyone looks really good in their outfits, and I feel like you don't think so? Well, I meant all the people that matter in this movie.
Kate Blanchett. I hate to be, and I don't mean to do it. I don't mean to sound ageist, but like she sounded tired in the whole movie, and she looked tired in the whole movie.
But I think that's part of her character in this is exhausted.
Really? Well, in the movie,
doesn't want to be there. Yeah, so like that didn't bother me. I didn't get that. Again, just me, and I don't have as much of a foothold in this place. But it is Psychos. That's what they are. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think. Desmond brings up a good point. He says, I feel like you're describing things that were acceptable about the film. But the film is so bad that we're calling him good. Like we're trying to find some positive.
I don't think that the costuming was acceptable. I thought the costuming was perfect. I thought the Psychos were amazing.
Actually.
Yeah. I think the Psychos were all perfect. The fact that they screwed up so much. If they screwed up the Psychos, I'd be like, you should get your film, everyone there should be fired and never allowed to work in film again if they could screw up those costumes right there. It seems so easy to put together,
I feel like, at least just knowing as little as I know about film production, that is decided and mostly manufactured very early on.
Yeah.
So I feel like when the film was probably buzzing and like, there's this bubble of positive energy and thoughts around the film, like that's when that happened. But
Yeah.
everything else about this film happened outside of that bubble of good. And also, I'm fairly certain that Gearbox probably had a pretty big hand in like what
They had
the
to.
aesthetic of it.
Especially because like when they were in that market and they're wearing the face masks and
Mm.
they're like the digital face masks. I loved that because like you play the game, you could
Yeah.
get your different skins and your different whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's perfect. That's a perfect way to like represent that. Again, Marcus
Yeah.
was so great for like the 3 seconds he was on camera. He was great
Yeah.
for the 3 seconds on camera. He is perfect. Hey, Vault Hunter! He was nailing it. He did it perfectly. Hey, they just underused him completely, underutilized.
And again, I'm not super familiar with how often he's used or how prevalent he's in the game. I've barely played it, but
He does the intro to every game. He's the exposition for the games.
oh yeah, I guess I don't remember. I haven't played it literally in so long. But I just think that it is a movie that hopefully we all forget about. Safe to say, whether you sit, skip, or stream, I am confident to say like you can skip this movie like in general, but I've seen a lot of people saying like it's gonna find some legs on streaming. Now the reason, Alex, is because it's PG-13 and wherever it goes, it's accessible to a wider audience. Like this movie has unfortunately has got legs.
Well, my suggestion is sadly, even though like I said, it's not the worst, but it's so disappointingly meh. I'm like, part of me was like, stream it, but you know what? I'm saying skip it.
Yeah,
because it's gonna disappoint you. It's not so bad, right? It's not like The Room that is so bad that you watch it and you could sit around and laugh at it. You can't. It's so disappointingly mediocre that it's not like you could sit around with your friends and like laugh at the bad parts. Like the bad parts are not even terrible enough to laugh at. They're just like
that's what I was saying about Madam Web. Maybe that's a good distinction. Is like to me, and I don't know what it is. Madam Web is so bad that I can go in and watch that movie with friends and laugh about it and make a drink out of it. Yeah, I could not hate watch this movie again, and I think it's because this movie, very similarly to what's the other one we both hated with Henry Cavill on Apple.
Argyle.
Argyle. It took itself seriously, and at least Madam Web was just like you kind of feel it, like it knows it's going to be bad, and it is bad, and it's almost marketed bad. And I still have a conspiracy theory.
It's a meme movie
that they released this movie terribly on purpose because they're like, we're never going to get to good. Let's go the opposite direction and just be bad. Like this movie still thinks that it's really good, and when you have even the actors in the films not promoting this movie during its release week, you know that there is a problem. That's all I'm going to say. So this, as far as Borderlands go, it's a movie that you can probably skip all entirely. Me and Alex will never forget it.
Honestly, not even while you're folding laundry. It's not interesting enough to fold laundry to.
No,
it's not. It's not bad enough to fold laundry to. It's just
go play the game. And I don't recommend that a lot because I'm not like a huge gamer, but like if you're interested in the Borderlands franchise, like go and watch either footage of the game or play the game, whatever you want to do, but it is absolutely better than this film. But that's it, guys. Those are our 2 movie reviews. Maybe next Saturday we'll try to do another one. We'll try to get together when we can, but it'll most likely be at this time, maybe a little earlier, so Alex doesn't have to give up his afternoon. But yeah, Alien, Borderlands. What are some other movies that you guys have seen? I know, Alex. What's the one that you just saw? Darling,
Strange Darling, and it's a preview. It was like an early preview with a Q&A with like the actors and everything afterwards, like live in New York City. But I didn't go to the live. I sat for the Q&A thing. Strange Darling, I cannot talk about it because like it's like there's elements of this movie that like it's so weird. It's spoilery for elements of this movie, but it is this messed up psychological murdering and death and like, oh man, it is messed up. But it was I don't know. I thought it was pretty great. Strange Darling. Did you see Cuckoo? Because I saw Cuckoo.
I have not. I got I hurt my knee. Oh, another old man. I think I already brought this up, but I hurt my knee.
Yeah, that's
I
like
heard it the day that I was going to go watch Cuckoo, and I was like, "Fuck!" So,
I'd say watch Cuckoo, watch Strange Darling, watch Oddity if you can, even though it's a few weeks
Oddity.
out.
I really want to see. I've heard very good things. Cuckoo. Yeah. I don't know. We haven't talked about it, but I haven't been hearing the greatest things other than Hunter Schafer's performance. So I heard she's great.
I loved it. Person I saw it with did not get it.
I was not into it. Polarizing.
It's very polarizing. Sure. But me, the whole time, I was like, I love this. I was like, I love this. Same thing with Longlegs.
We've both seen that for sure. I've seen it twice now.
Yeah, we've seen Longlegs. But Longlegs is another one that's polarizing. I loved it. The person I saw it with, same person, like we go to watch these movies and like, I love it. They don't like it. I'm like, oh my God, it's so funny.
Maybe next weekend, if me and Alex can make this work, in one of these earlier slots that's not on our Monday regular show at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we talk pop.
Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know.
So you never miss a show. Thank you, Alex. And but on these offshoot shows, we'll talk more movies. I do really want to talk Longlegs now that the movie is kind of like out there and, it's out of the news cycle and you can kind of like get away from the marketing of it all, like looking at it as a film. I'd be really interested to talk with you about that. So maybe we'll put that on the docket and then something else. We'll try to do two because even though very clearly we probably could have talked about Alien for the entire hour.
Yeah, and we said like, hey, let's do this for a tight half hour. And
it's tight 30. Yeah.
So tight 30.
As we always do. But honestly, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had as many watching today as we normally do on our Monday show. Like, I don't know if this is a better time, like in general, but we would love your guys' input always. Just like when's best to go live. Tuesdays and Thursdays are no longer available to us, unfortunately, because someone has to work in office and doesn't get off till late.
No one cares about your personal life, Paul. Come on, stop.
Wrap it up. But thank you all so much for joining us. Again, let us know in the comments after you see Alien and if you've seen Borderlands, like what you thought about it. Like, would you recommend it to people? Would you have them sit, skip, or stream it? What are your thoughts? But let us know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you, Alex. We'll see you guys Monday for the Pop Culture News and Headline Show. And then maybe next weekend, we'll talk some more movies. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Remember to like what you love what you like, and get off your goddamn phone in the movie theaters. Yeah, do seriously. It. Or else Alex is going to very curmudgeoningly